Okay.
Ryan Doyle, welcome to Visualize Value Office Hours number 34. Pleasure to have you, mate.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
All right, so we're going to be talking about building sales strategies this evening, and I thought to set a bit of context, we get a bit of background on you, your experience to date, and the I think for people who've recently joined a little bit on Free Sales Advice Friday too.
Okay, awesome. So just the intro to me. I'm Ryan Doyle. I live here in upstate New York, where I just moved back to, so I'm trying to build something of my own. But for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been in corporate sales, software sales, big ticket sales. And I got into it because I was, like a lot of folks here, bootstrapping a business at the time out of my college dorm room, and I wanted to go see under the hood of how some of these bigger businesses did their sales strategies. So I was really fortunate that I got to go in with the mindset of I'm all using this for someday building something of my own. And I was a lead generation guy for 8-figure software. I was a guy who built teams for a small company that turned into a 600-person company, and I've been the deal closer. So that is a really quick summation of my professional work that I think is relevant to visualize value. And I'm just glad that we're doing this kind of sales oriented one, because there's so many VV concepts that relate to really everything in sales. I guess that's what you get when you build VV on these like timeless philosophical wisdoms. But I think there's a lot of overlap we can talk
Awesome, man. Yeah, I think maybe with that, if you have a sort of your philosophy as it relates to sales, I think that would be a good opener before we get into the tactical stuff. If you can
about.
surmise that, speak to your ideas there.
Absolutely. So to back it way up, I think that the folks that have seen the Free Sales Advice Fridays have seen the tactical. And if you followed a lot of them, they tend to follow a pretty similar pattern. And when we talk about like the sales mindset or the sales strategy in general, something that we're talking about to whether they're professional sales reps who want to know how they can do well at sales, or they're bootstrap founders, single company founders who want to know how they can do well. There's kind of like three big things, and two of them have to do with your mindset. And when we talk about the mindset, a lot of people are scared to do sales because it comes off as sleazy. Sales is a dirty word, so to speak.
Hmm.
Um, I think that is because you have an experience with a bad salesperson that sticks out in your mind. But if you
Hmm.
think about the last time you went to a nice dinner and the waiter or waitress, near the end of the night brings over the dessert menu, hey, anybody want a little bit of cheesecake or a cocktail? That person is selling you, but in a way that's helpful. So the
Right.
first mindset thing that we try to come from is you should be providing value up front. That's how you earn permission to sell. And it's really in tune with a lot of your permissionless apprenticeship stuff. And so that is kind of the first key is we don't ever have to feel bad about selling and self-promoting when we're doing it in order to help people. And this is
Hmm.
something else we've said is self-promotion is the most selfless thing you can do, because now you're not putting the burden of self-promotion on someone else. But your promotion
Hmm.
might help someone. So that's point one, and we can talk on that if you'd like, or I can keep going.
No, I think anyone who's got questions about sales as it relates to them, as Ryan is talking through these principles, I think that would be we'll start queuing those up for later on. But let's get through these three pillars, and then maybe we can track back and dig deeper if we need to.
Yeah. And so then the other mentality is a lot of people wrap their mind around, well, I'm just not good at sales because I've never sold anybody anything.
Hmm.
And the mentality we need to get into is the one of experimentation. So in these free sales advice Fridays, I might not be offering the perfect method of someone going out and generating business, but we're coming up with a hypothesis, an offer, and we're testing it. Hey, I think we can sell this offer via this channel. And you don't always have to win the sale to have succeeded. It could be you generate a piece of data that helps you do better next time. And to give you an example, just how important that is in big ticket sales, we would sell this 7-figure software, and we had sales reps who would go for a year without selling anything, and they were still highly respected among the sales team, because when you're breaking into a new market, you do need some people to go out there, take some licks, and generate that data for you. So that's why we say approach sales as a learning experiment, because you're that much more likely to stick with it and not get discouraged, and to do well in the long term. There was something I think I wrote here that was similar to yours, to some of the stuff you said. Oh, what was it?
I love the idea of like, in the context of a team, like the people that are, I watched Moneyball the other week, Celia and I, and the first person through the wall always gets bloody. They're like doing you a service by taking the hit on your behalf. That's a great way to think about it. I saw
you post that one. And the other one I was thinking of was direction before momentum.
Yeah.
So you might have to go out there and get bloody by going through the wall. You know, that's how you get the ultimate success, is by treating it as a science experiment. Because if you take the advice of saying, I'm going to look in these LinkedIn groups for people who's having a pain, and we'll try to get some sales. Maybe a month goes by, you get 5 sales, and you recognize 3 of them are creative directors at marketing agencies. And you start to go, oh, well, now I can hone down and get more specific. It's almost like that visual you've been posting this last week of say yes and it expands until you have to say no.
Right.
So it follows with that.
That's great.
But then the last kind of big thing is it follows the scientific method, this idea of try to wrap your brain around your happiness isn't dependent on the outcome of your sales experience. Your happiness is dependent on knowing that you put in the reps that day. So impatience with actions, patience with results in VD speak. Because when we were selling these huge softwares, we were putting out a lot of cold emails, cold calls, doing a lot of meetings. But sometimes it just doesn't come your way. People don't want to take a meeting. People have bought something else, and you can't control it. And then there are other times where you're going to get lucky, and it happens across the board. So the results are like that, but your inputs should be like that.
Yeah, I love that. The other way I've heard that referred to is lead indicators versus lag indicators. Have you heard of that?
Right.
That framing of it? Like you measure what you're putting in, and like you say, the result is not happening on day one. It's a byproduct of this like process that you're refining on a day-to-day basis. And sales is, as brutal as it is, it's some of the most direct feedback you can collect, right? It's listening to someone on the phone or having somebody like critique how you pitched them a service. I think it's like, again, run toward the pain will make you a better salesperson.
Exactly. Having someone tell you why they don't want your product, or asking the question, well, isn't this the same thing as competitor XYZ? That has huge indications for what your product team should be doing, what your marketing team should be doing. It's, you're the tip of the spear, so to speak. So that's why we try to come from these 3 pillars of treat it like a science experiment, have the mentality of helping people, and have the mentality of I'm focusing on the inputs, not the outputs, because the people who can do that are going to last the longest in this game, and therefore be the most successful.
Yeah, that's great. So I think we're getting a good foundation here. If there are any foundational questions, drop them in the chat, and then otherwise we'll start moving in. And I think we can kind of dip in and out of theory and practice with some of the examples that we've been asked to run through. But we do have a couple of questions, Ryan. So first one being selling a product or service that people don't know they need yet. So how do you approach something like that?
So that's a great question, because I think that nobody knows they need something. If they did, they would have it. And it goes back to kind of the point one of this mindset of you're here to help people. And so we always say, take a consultative approach. So if somebody doesn't know they need something, how can you provide some value up front in a consultative way to show them that they might actually need that? Tactically, when I was selling this marketing technology software, I would often sign up for brands' newsletters, go on their website, and I'd record a 50-second, 1 minute video, and I would just show like, these are the few things you can improve. It could be your call to action. Here, I've done it for you. This is what I would write. This other brand does it and experiences great uplift. And kind of showing that, like, here's something you could do. Here is what it would look like, kind of my value and showing it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's my expertise, whether it's working with, your competitors in the space or just having been in the space a while. That is how you start to show someone that they might actually need it. Because then they start to go, maybe a competitor's passing me. Maybe my boss is going to see this type of thing and think I'm not doing a good job. So I hope that's helpful in answering that question, because yeah, you do have to convince people that there is a need there.
Yeah, it's like the notion that you've built a product that fixes a problem people don't know exists doesn't mean they don't have that problem, right? It's like you're not aware of the potential upside of using this thing. I think that's an interesting reframe, right? You have to educate them. And I think the word problem is a little provocative there, because it's like, hey, you're selling people things they don't need. It's more of problems you don't know you have, or upside that you don't know you're not capturing, as opposed to problem in some cases. That could be a helpful reframe for people that don't want to invent problems, but want to provide things that move the needle. Right.
And you always have a good way of making these things pithy, Jack, and it sounds so much better in the British accent. So kudos.
That's the next course, Ryan. Just
how to speak like a Shelby. Yeah. That was horrible. I'm sorry. So just to like tactically show what I mean there. Postmates is a marquee customer of the last company I worked at. You might know Postmates if you've ordered delivery food. Other versions in different countries are Deliveroo, Grubhub, Rappi, all those. So they didn't know that they needed a push notification and email software. But when we showed them some of the results that other brands were experiencing, they came around to the conversation. It took a few months, but they eventually bought us, spending 6 figures, and in their first day of using that software made 7 figures. So they didn't know they needed this thing up front, but they knew that they needed to increase their revenue as this hyper-growth company trying to go public. And we tied in our value to that. So we showed our breakdown, look, this is what you could be doing. We see this goal of yours. Let us help you get to that.
Yeah, I think this is that's a great example, and another thing that we've seen success with, visually speaking, too, right? So if you can, whether or not that's a video example or some medium that you're comfortable presenting in, but also, hey, here's a projection of what we could do for your business, making assumption X, Y, and Z, right? So let's say 100,000 people in San Francisco order a meal every night. If you could increase that number to 110,000, what would that be worth to you? Well, data from our other clients shows us that that's the potential upside here. So yeah, it makes a ton of sense.
That's the best of both worlds right there, is the numbers and the story.
Yeah. I think like contextualizing your previous results in for new customers is super interesting, and like a very low-hanging fruit, right? We took case study X. A lot of people will just present the case study, but what a case study misses in a lot of cases is, excuse the pun, is that context of the company that you're pitching, right? Like sending someone to a case studies page, it's that same idea. Everybody cares. Nobody cares what you can do. Everyone cares what you could do for them. There are very few people that are motivated to read about 12 different companies, but if you send them a future case study of their business after working with you, they're going to read every word of it.
Absolutely. That's the consultative approach, right? You're providing the value in translate.
Exactly. Yes, perfect. So I think we got a couple other questions here. Tips for bringing value in the sales process outside of the typical inbound marketing approach of publishing content and letting leads come to you. So I think you've spoken a little bit to how you would customize that on a case-by-case basis. Is there are there broader things you can speak to there?
Okay, so I've spoken on the case by case of how I would have done it for particular companies. Just to bubble that one level up, and then you can tell me if you think we're touching on something overarching, is my approach with these large companies was always to take something about their business that was publicly available, whether it was a landing page, whether it was a 10K report, and then try to tie my service somehow into that. So
Mm-hmm.
if my push notification software is going to help get you more users, and I go on your landing page and I see you want me to drop my email to sign up, I could say, hey, this is how I could help you do that. So I do apply that broadly to really any brand. I think that any business that's out there that you could go to the website of, you could come up with an idea of what do they want me to do? What do they want from me? What do they want for their business? And try to work your pitch to that.
Mm-hmm.
And just to make sure that I really got to the essence of the question, would you repeat any of the parts that I missed?
So, outside of the typical inbound marketing approach of
Yeah.
publishing content and letting leads come to you, so I think the entire dynamic is shifted, right? I think there is the approach of, if you build it, they will come, hopefully, versus let me show you exactly why you should build with us, and this is the type of result you can expect. So I think
Right.
the division of labor and the effort, a lot of the time, at least in businesses that I've worked with, you'll put, let's use a arbitrary time value. You put 100 hours of time into building a marketing asset that goes out and kind of speaks to no one, versus you
Right.
spend 100 hours doing 50 2-hour customized pitches to 50 businesses, and you probably end up with, I don't know what a hit rate would be considered good there, but I would imagine that that generic piece of content is going to underperform the customized 50 shots that you take.
Right. And okay, so let's put like an overarching theme to this, because kind of my theme in sales in general is it's got to be direct outreach. We're trying to get in contact with people we would want to do business with. And if you could slap a logo on my version of what this looks like, it's a golden retriever who's like just happy to be here and is aggressively helpful. Um, and when you're making this content that's meant for inbound, you can repurpose it for those reasons. You could message someone who just launched an app and say, look, we just did this case study on, or we just did this research on the best times of day to send push notifications. I really hope it's helpful to you. And not just wait for people to find that on their own, but put it directly in front of them. Maybe call out something specific to them. So I don't think aggressive is the right word when I'm trying to say aggressively helpful, but I do want to be someone that you eventually consider a resource, because I'm thinking of your needs and taking the stuff that we're already making and putting it in front of you when it's relevant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
even
great.
if I know you're not going to buy today,
Yeah, so I think a lot of the
advisor,
a lot of the lack of nuance, I think, is people's understanding of like what a marketing function is versus what a sales function is. I don't know what your perspective is on this, like where they overlap, if at all. Like, are those old distinctions helpful even? How do you think about that?
Okay, so they go hand in hand for sure, because when you're at a big company, everything goes hand in hand. Sales influences product and marketing influences sales, and even things like recruiting. But I try to think of sales as diagnostic, case by case, and individual.
Mm.
So to, I guess, put it in marketing terms, you could think of it as rapid marketing. You're going out and you're trying to figure out what messaging is resonating with people on an individual basis. You're trying to figure out what this person's specific problem is so that you can use your marketing messaging in order to speak to them. And it's not something that's always on, so to speak. So it could become always on. It could influence your marketing, but if your sales tactic in this e-commerce vertical is working really well, now you might send that back to marketing and have them do some stuff to generate inbound content or inbound leads from e-commerce. But you figure that out through the sales process when the
That's
market is saying certain things.
I like that. That brings us back to the metaphor that you used at the beginning. Forgive
Which
me if
one?
I'm the tip of the
Like the
spear.
consultative tip of the
The tip of
spear.
the
Yes.
spear. This idea that like sales is not something you do when you have everything figured out. It's something you do to figure everything out.
Right. And I would like to just throw in a little advocation here. I think that, I said this earlier, people can be scared of sales. What I hate to see is somebody build something for a year, never have talked to a customer, or just
Mm-hmm.
be afraid to try a new market. But if you're coming from this mindset of, I think I can help these people and here's how, you're doing them a disservice by not reaching out to them. So be a tip of the spear in some regard. You don't have to have a strategy. You don't have to have it all figured out, but you do have to try if you are going to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these principles just apply across the board, and the unfortunate reputation that sales gets, it prevents a lot of people that could learn an enormous amount about what the market values about their expertise by just getting out there and having these conversations and figuring out what's going on.
Right. And the great difference, I think, for a lot of people in this community is they're not pure play salespeople. So when you can reach out to someone in what we might call a sales context, hey, I'm the founder of this, I'm a CMO of this, this is what I'm trying to do, this is how I think it helps you. That doesn't come off as sales. That comes off as partnership. And that's really what the end goal of sales is partnership. So
Mm-hmm.
if you can lean on the fact that you're not a salesperson, that's the strength.
Yeah, that's great. That's well put. Like I think I've experienced that a little bit. I've never described myself as a salesperson, never done any formal sales training, but you
Yeah.
realize in hindsight the conversations you've had where people are just asking you, or people approach you with a varied set of problems. You start to realize, okay, I can thread like I can thread what's unique about my experience that can help all of these people in these different situations. It kind of informs how you think about building product and exposure to the
Right.
market with an MVP. Like your conversations are kind of the earliest version of that MVP, right? It's like what's resonating, what's the killer feature that's missing, what's the one thing that needs to be fixed. You can discover that through a
Right.
conversation in the same way, would save you a ton of effort and energy in building prior.
Right. And we can touch more on at some point if you'd like, how you have those early conversations as like a founder before you have a lot to back it up. Happy to talk about stuff like that, but you know, want to respect more questions if we've got them or whatever process you'd like to follow.
I think that would be a great place to spend some time. I think a lot of people in this community in particular either have a skill set or have, the reins of a company that has a skill set, but may not be like salespeople. So I think
Right.
like sales as a function for the individual to me is a pretty interesting territory. And I would love for you to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So let me start with a recent experience that I had being a founder who was trying to sell something. So I recently got into building my own software that I thought would help salespeople. And I took the idea to some people that I knew in the space, which is already a leg up, but they do say build for what you know.
Right,
And
right.
they said, this is something we want. So I spent like 3 weeks, built a little MVP, and I emailed these people, and I'm like, look, this is something that I think is going to help you increase your email reply rates because they're salespeople and they want that. And I'm looking for users right now that I can build around. I want them to be a core part of this product
Mm-hmm.
because my strength is I'm not VC funded or anything. I can truly do what you want. There's just like a 5 sentence email. Here's my Calendly. I'm doing onboardings all week. Please let me know if I can get you set up, and we'll go from there. And so how I found these people were, first off, the 2 or 3 people that I had asked, was this a good idea? Asking them, do you know anybody else who might want to use this? Because I think that something that most every sales process I've ever seen is missing is asking your customers to help you sell, saying, okay, now that you've used this, do you know anybody else who would benefit for it? I'd really appreciate the opportunity to try to earn their business. Um, but it was difficult because I was not working with um, the salespeople that I knew. They didn't know me as a developer, so I had a leg down there. The people that I didn't know that I tried to sell to, they saw no customers on my customer list. They saw a very basic website, but I kept leaning on this concept of aggressively helpful. And
Mm-hmm.
the difference between, saying this is the difference between the corporate sale and this. The corporate sale, I could say, this is what we do for other customers. This is what we could do for you. But when it was the individual sale, it was very much about like, hey, listen, you see the work I'm putting in to reach out to you and to build this. Imagine how hard I'm going to work to earn your business. And I would say that literally because
Mm-hmm.
it's a strength to be the one person running the show and having that person know that they can get in contact with you.
Yeah.
So it's about almost making them feel select, like a partner. And I can pause there and we can go into any part of that you want. But I'm sure you've experienced this doing your agency those first 2 years before Visualize Value and then getting VV off the ground. I don't know how much that resonates with you.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's the, like, I didn't actually know I was doing it at the time, but it maps perfectly to the same thing, right? It's like, I'm going to stop doing all of these, like, completely erratic different projects. I'm going to focus on this single skill, which in essence is a product. And then I'm going to find clients that believe in this product, this service, and
Right.
ask them to, not hire me to do the stuff that I would normally do, but I'm perfecting this process of visualizing value. And I'd love to, like, I'll cut you a discount if, like, you will work with me on this thing. And
Right.
the only thing I ask is if if it comes out the way you expect it's going to come out, please write me a nice endorsement. And that
Right.
really just snowballed from there. So it wasn't a product in a traditional sense. It wasn't a piece of software that someone logs into, but it is an exchange of value that, got them the result that I thought it was going to get them. And then again, the
Right.
referral engine works the same way. So I think sales, it can be really like progress prohibitive to like lean on a bad definition of sales. Like
Right.
you recategorize sales in the way you operate on a daily basis as, the act of getting real-time feedback from partners, then it's a totally different, it has a totally different connotation and hopefully makes it much more frictionless.
Right. And less intimidating and seems more necessary to the health of your business. And something you mentioned in that too is partner with me on this and a discount is yours. You know,
Yeah.
ask for money. It's important. And um, you don't have to say, will you please pay me money? You could always say, look, I'm thinking of starting this at $19 a month. I would love to throw you a discount if you're interested because I'm just trying to get it off the ground. But, even as a sales guy myself, that's the lesson I learned with this SaaS project. I trusted the 30 beta users who said, yes, I would pay for this. I worked a little bit harder to polish it up, and I only got 5 of them to pay.
Right.
So, but out of that, I'm like, oh, a lot of people are asking me how they can get their first customers. So I'm going to start building sales guides. hey, is anybody interested in sales guides? If so, it's like $10, $19 a month to help me get it off the ground. And bam, 2-3 takers before I even built anything, which is another key point I think we can touch on. And that's, you want to find out if it's really difficult to get a sale early, not after you build too much. You know,
That's
if
great.
there is truly value in your offer, people are going to take you up on it. And yeah, I know Celia's from around where I'm from. It can be pretty hillbilly around here. There's an old saying, I've never seen a worm jump into a bird's mouth, but I've never seen a bird dig a 6-foot hole.
Right.
So, you know, if you're reaching out with some potential offer for your business and it's just not resonating, you know, it could be a problem with the problem you're trying to solve. It could be a problem with positioning. And this is more geared towards people building something new. But I feel like once you start to hit on the offer in the channel, you'll know, like, oh, this could be successful. And you won't have to wonder, is my sales effort going to be successful?
Okay,
That's why
cool.
I talk a lot about experimentation.
Yeah, great. And I think where this community in particular will get value from this session, and I know we planned on dissecting a couple of businesses, and maybe we'll get there, but I think the thread that we're pulling on is maybe more valuable for everybody. We should do an example before we finish, but the idea of how do you like essentially rip the band-aid off and start talking to people, because I think there's the tendency for builders, creators, people who like have some vision for this thing they build. It really does work the opposite way around, right? People are way more they feel way more comfortable developing something that they can then go out and put in front of somebody. And not to say that isn't a valid approach, but how do you think about, you know, making contact with the market? A lot of us will just default to that like marketing blast and just hope someone gets in touch with us to be sold. So how do you think about like just finding a person to reach out to and start a conversation with?
Okay, so it's definitely case by case, but if we're to think about, and I had wrote something down for this, if we're to think about, you know, sales as an experiment, and we could run a sales experiment before we truly build anything. And let's go over like 3 little topics that are in this experiment of pre-selling, let's call it.
Okay.
So what do you help with? Okay, I want to build a software that helps people generate more email responses. Okay, that's my pitch. It's going to generate more email responses, or it's going to help people book more meetings or make more money or whatever. Visualize value. I'm going to help people instill timeless philosophical aphorisms into their brain, download it like software, and then use that to better their lives. Okay, so that's our pitch. That's how we might help if we built this thing. Now, for the people who would need that problem solved, where do they hang out? If you're going to solve a problem, if this is a problem we're solving, guaranteed those people exist in some type of group somewhere. So my salespeople, they exist in groups. They exist sales conferences. If it's visualized value, well, I'd be interested to know, where did you find your initial people hanging out, so to speak?
I think the strongest density of like great fit members of the community came from Twitter. So like you get in these certain circles of discussion and networks of people, whether that's, you know, the startup community, the creator community, the build in public community. That was really, you know, people who are building things on their own that need some form of organization originally, which was the Daily Manifest, and then that graduated into these products that help people think about, you know, the mental frameworks required to build products, sell products, all of these different layers built on top of that.
So knowing just how you are on Twitter, you're not someone to just put shit out and then let it fester. You're active, you're engaging with people, you're thanking people, you're iterating. I mean, look at what we're doing right now. We're creating content in this call that you are visualizing. So this is step 3, and that's what's the outreach look like? You have to extend yourself to some extent to these people that you found where they hang out with your potential offer. And I'm happy to share some examples of how I've seen this done really well in some threads in Slack later. But
Very awesome.
one that I've seen recently that I've just been really taken with is Kevin Conti, who runs softwareideas.io. And he kind of like you was putting out a little bit of content. Really, he put out 2 pieces of content. He put it on Indie Hackers. Hey, if you want some software companies to disrupt, here's some that you can disrupt. Here's what the MVP should look like. And here's why I think you can disrupt them. And people loved it. They commented on his post. They're like, this is great. So he's commenting, hey, shoot me an email if you want more of this. And I saw his email exchanges, and I can post where I saw those. He's really just saying, hey, I'm glad to hear that you think that a weekly version of this is something worth paying for. Right now, I'm trying to find 10 pre-sales in order to see if this is worth getting off the ground. Would you be open to committing, $19 a month? And if at any point you're not happy, I'll refund it. No harm, no foul. But what he did is something that anybody can do. Put out a piece, a potential snippet of what your work could be, see if it generates interest. If it doesn't, send it to people that you think might be interested. And if they are, say, look, I'm trying to get this off the ground. If you would be willing to put down $10 today, $100 today, I'll get it to you in 2 weeks. I'll get it to you in a week. Would you be willing to help me get this off the ground? I want my first users to help me shape this product. This goes back to a few minutes ago. We talked about being partners with your potential customers. And when you start from that ability, now you have a validated idea before it's built, before you put in all the effort. And I would 100 times rather build something like that than build something that I'm putting it out. I just can't find people yet. I don't know what to do. At least as someone looking for their first venture to hit, I want it to resonate enough that people are saying, this thing could fill my pain. I will put down $10. You've made it easy for me to get my money back if things go wrong. But, I'm validating your building of this process. Customer first, profit first, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways to unpack that, and leading with the value is obviously the sort of cornerstone idea there. And I think there is a general hesitation around giving too much away that is more often than not unfounded, right? You're expecting people to evaluate your ability to help them without showing the extent of your ability or the nuance of your thinking, things of that nature. So the more you put out, the opportunities just increase on the inbound. And the other thing I wanted to touch on was there are, Sam Parr, right? The Trends group.
Oh yeah.
Guy's
who's going to owe you a car pretty soon?
Brilliant dude. Yeah, he's talks a lot about Reddit and the organization of communities and content in places like Reddit, where you're really thinking about subject matter first or type of person first. And I think I'll admit that I don't know a ton about that world, but there are so many different platforms that exist outside of social networks where you have this ether of just noise, that unless you have a platform that's been built up, or you have this content mechanism that can consistently grow your reach, then it may feel daunting and you're kind of throwing things out into thin air. But there are things like Indie Hackers, like Reddit, where you have this aggregated attention around a very specific subject. So I think those are very underleveraged in the context of, say I'm building a legal product. I go into Reddit slash legal,
legal,
whatever it
yeah.
is, and there's like thousands of people on there every day. It's like, hey, I'm building this thing. I would love your feedback on it. What do you think? And you don't have to go in there and say, buy my thing for $19, but you're trying to build relationships with people that have the problem that you're trying to solve. And they're almost, you have to approach it from the perspective that they're paying you in feedback and experience and things of that nature. So I think it's a little shift in framing, but it's a huge, you can make a huge leap if you think and act that way.
Right. And you know what else you talk about that I think could be relevant to this, Jack, is building a friend catcher. So, Free Sales Advice Friday is a friend catcher. I talk to people after Free Sales Advice Friday saying, hey, I'm going to put this premium newsletter together of bootstrap sales advice. Do you want to support? It's a friend catcher that allowed me the ability to make a warm email to them. But you see this so many places. You don't. I didn't want to peek at the thread in the office hours Slack about the businesses we were potentially going to look at tonight because I wanted to do it all. But I did look at one. There was a gentleman who posted a coaching business, and my first thought was, oh, well, where are people that might need this holistic coaching business of getting better at life, becoming a magnet for opportunity? And I'm like, well, what's on Reddit? So I looked at Reddit Get Disciplined. And on Reddit Get Disciplined, there are tags. And the tags are, here's good advice, or I need advice. And I'm like, you know what I would do? I would click that I need advice button. I would go through those posts. I DM those guys. Hey, look, here's a PDF that I felt helped get me on track. I offer a coaching service. I'd love to talk to you about it if this is helpful. And that's a friend catcher that you're using to provide value up front. That person could potentially become a customer. Looks like sales, isn't really sales. You helped that person out. You asked for the opportunity to help them more.
Yep. I was just dropping a few examples in here, like what was the one we used above? Software Ideas IO. It's a very Visualize Value has provided the front end content has provided the opportunity to build relationships with people that want to take that idea further, right? It's like if you're able to convince someone that you can create a ton of content that is, helping them think about changing their mindset with regard to entrepreneurship or publishing or building in public, whatever that might be, you're just building that relationship to the point where it's like, oh, there's other products that are really focused on, putting this in order and teaching it as a curriculum. I'm going to check that out. It's really like a snowball effect of providing a ton of value up front. So maybe we should jump in. Go on.
We can. I just wanted to just cap off at the end. I think that's where the sales and the marketing stuff starts to collide, is when you're building friend catchers and then you're trying to do that direct outreach. But you have to kind of combine in that early stage of, I'm building a friend catcher, that could be marketing. I'm putting it in front of people manually, that could be sales, in order to generate the data of, this is what I should double down on: the channel, the content, how I talk to people.
Yeah, that makes total sense. All right. I can pull this up on my end, and you can, if you can see it on that screen there, or you can jump.
Yeah, I'm opening Zoom right now. Do you want me to hop here? I'll hop off my phone quick, and I'll be on in just 1 minute.
Great. Yeah, if anyone's got any questions as well, let's queue those up for when Ryan gets back. And also just feedback on this session. If this is helpful content, you guys are enjoying it, would love to know, because we can, keep improving on this format. Good stuff. All right, Brian, glad to hear it. Emmy, I'll make sure I get that question to Ryan when he comes back. That's a good one. Scott, welcome, my friend. Glad to have you. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. Cheers, Dev. Awesome. All right, he should be dropping back in now. I think I see. Celia. I don't know which Celia is which.
Hear me okay?
Yeah, got you back. You're Celia and Sealy's over there too. We got some real
Sorry, Celia.
weird glitch going on.
So you want me to just pull up something up from Slack and share my screen?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
And also, if you guys have a way of exporting a lot of the questions that are coming out of the chat right now, I know that I've seen a lot ping. Happy to like tackle them tomorrow in Slack or something.
Awesome.
Let me
Awesome. That'd be great. Yeah. And we'll keep the backlog going for free sales advice Friday as well.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna stop sharing. You fire yours up and just open up a few of those links.
And just to tell you what I'm intending on doing is there's one of these that I've not seen cold, but my hope is to open something up, figure out what the pitch is. How are these people trying to help people, so that I can say, well, maybe this is where we can look, and then finish with this could be our messaging. It may not be perfect. It may not be something they've thought of, but the goal here again is to experiment with something and generate some data that we can use in the future. So let me share my screen. Got this office hours. I will open up Slack, and Noose has plainly.shop. So let's take a look at plainly.shop. And I'm gonna move this to the side. So plainly.shop, create promo videos for your product in just minutes. Get more users with high performing promo videos created the easy way. So an easy way to make promo videos. To me, sounds like something Jack could use in making his visualized value. Okay, here's some examples. So how is this different? Video blocks focused on simplicity. Looks like it takes the brand. Okay, so I like this. It's actually, this is really cool. I think I can tell this is a Landon template. I don't see like customer testimonials or anything like that. So what I'm guessing this person's situation is they're just starting with this. They've got a software that they're trying to get in front of more people. And if you are trying to help people make better promo videos, where are those people going to be hanging out? Is there a social media manager's Facebook group or Slack or Reddit or LinkedIn group that you can go into? When you're in those groups, can you use a tool like Syften, Syften, happy to share that later, to monitor keywords that you might want to follow up on? It could be promo video or how to make just generally so that you can be there to organically follow up with people. That's one method of thinking about this. Another method of thinking about this is, okay, we've got an audacious goal. We want to go after some of the big companies in the game, like Glossier is a dream account. So you know what I would do is I would Google Glossier social media marketer. Let's see if we can find anybody for that. Let me throw in LinkedIn just to pare it down. Okay, Stephanie Chang, head of growth and retention marketing. This is actually one of my customers from my old job. So that's funny. But if this is the person that's making this, I want to message her. I want to email her. And what I want to do is make a Glossier promo video. If this software, let me move this out of the way. If this software is really so easy, how can I provide value to her in a cold email? I could just make a cool little Glossier video. I'm sure if I went to Glossier's Instagram, I could see some type of cool product that I could run through this. Or if I was following Glossier news, I could hear about some new product launch, run it through my video promo, send to her, Stephanie, huge fan of Glossier. I made this promo video for your socials. I actually run a software that really helps you do this. If you'd like to use more stuff like this, would love to talk. So that's us hitting on what the value is of this business, where I might find people to talk to, and how I might message them. Any questions there? You want to move on to something else?
Yeah, let's move on, and any questions, we'll rack them up. We'll get a couple more examples in that way.
Salesadvice.io, that's what's coming out of my free Fridays now. That's my new newsletter.
Awesome.
Gerard Dawson, what are you doing? He's going from general copywriting to selling case study and success story services. The niche he focuses on is ed tech. Okay, so you make case studies for businesses in ed tech. My first thought is you should talk to that promo video app we just saw that didn't have customer case studies or anything like this yet. I love to see this because this tells me that you can talk to someone about results you've generated for someone else and translate it to them. So the real teacher helping you build your education business, I'm just going to go off of what you said in Slack, which is that you're trying to make this into tech companies that are ed tech focused. How do we get them to do customer success stories? So first off, what are the ed tech businesses? A couple come to mind. I mean, there's Udemy. There's one called Caribou that's small, like a children's reading app. But if I can click on an article like this, the 31 education technology companies, I could also Google something like, let's just see here, Kahoot, marketing VP, for example. So now that I'm on Kahoot's leadership team and I see, let's just scroll to a marketing type of person. We're not even going to look at Sean's LinkedIn, but let's just take a look at Kahoot's website quick. Let's see if they talk about any of their customers. So they got Kahoot Academy. They've got so many players, 1 billion players. Just not to go too deep into this, right away, my thought process is I want to know, are they talking about any customer? Do they have a logo of their customer on their website? Because I can reach out and say, hey, would you want to make a case study about this customer? But now what I would say for something to experiment with for this business is, hey, congratulations on reaching 1 billion players in the last year. That's how you show you're a human being who's been reading their stuff. Back to this. Must have been an exciting 3 years with the brand. How have you seen customer case studies impact your bottom line? That's us fishing for, do they know that customer case studies impact their bottom line? Because now in the next sentence, we're going to say, this is what we do. These are case studies that we make automatically without you even having to think about it. Because if they resonate with that line of, oh yeah, I guess, customer case studies do drive our business, that can start the wheel turning in their mind to think that you're someone to talk to about that. So again, we could go really deep on this, but I want to be able to hit a few.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, keep them rolling.
Yeah, Joseph, this gravitas wins. This was actually the one that I did sneak a peek at. So when I read this, it's you helping people make a better life, it seems. And so where are people congregating who might already be asking for advice about this so that you can be the person who answers their question? So that's why I went to Reddit Get Disciplined. And you'll see right away that there are these tags: method, plan, advice. And if we want to find people who need advice, we go for that need advice. Hey, how to start? The fear from starting is making me stop. And I would want to respond to this person. Here's a resource that has helped me. If they like it, if they comment back, maybe I shoot them a DM. Glad you liked it. I do this coaching too. If it really helps you out, I would love to document your success along the way. So this is us just trying a hypothesis of, there's a problem you solve. The people that need it solved are congregating. Here's how we might pitch them while providing value up front.
I just want to add one thing while you're on that page. Like, there is product insight that comes from reading these things too. Like, the ability to hone your offer, your product positioning, the way you talk about yourself based on what you're seeing as a need somewhere like this.
That's exactly right, Jack. Like, what if we went to the top posts of the week and this need advice? Oh, this is something that people must resonate with because it has 1.5K upvotes. I have the perfect opportunity to do great things, but spend all day avoiding life. If you were to write some headline that was, feel like you have, right. I'm not a marketer, feel like you have the perfect opportunity to do things, but spend all day avoiding life, this is for you,
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing I've read as a great way to get that language spinning in your head is read Amazon product reviews, book reviews, and the language that the market uses to identify the problem is how you should start thinking about it.
I'll even throw that out there for software stuff. If you are trying to make a software and you want to know what people's pain points are or who you might try to reach out to, go to G2 Crowd, look at your potential competitors and sort by their worst reviews.
That's great. That's great advice.
Agrarian Design, and I'm just going to rapid fire from here. A digital marketing agency for, sustainable companies. It looks like you're doing some good cold emailing through the B Corp list, which is great. Now, the first thing that pops into my mind is you're helping people market that they are a sustainable company and earn more business. That's your sweet spot. You found those businesses through the B Corp lists. But to go back to a very early point about asking your customers to sell for you, I don't know of any ecologically conscious company that's also not community oriented. So if you're selling to one B Corp founder, chances are they know a plethora of other founders of businesses that are trying to do these great things. What would it be to say, hey, I'm trying to find more businesses to work with to help them their impact in the world. Do you have anybody that you would introduce me to, or you think I could reach out to? Or, hey, this is what we've done for your business in the last year. Would love to keep spreading the love. We're looking to bring on more customers. Is there anybody that we should prioritize? So that's the first thing that pops to mind for me. Just because you have the unique ability to talk to people who, they're in it for more than business. They care about the people around them. So, we got like two more. We might as well finish these up, 2, 3 more. So more general around paid digital marketing versus trying to build social media following for a digital product. So I do have to say, Omer, this is less my expertise because this definitely goes more towards that marketing and creating like evergreen content to have something come inbound. That said, I did do a digital product for recent college grads who were getting into the sales profession. And my tactic was to go to LinkedIn and target people who had graduated in the last 6 months and were in sales jobs, because I felt like I didn't have the capability of building a social media following of salespeople. So this is really, your mileage may vary. If you're better at social than ads, I used to do some e-commerce stuff, so I felt comfortable with ads. It's your mileage may vary. And just to rattle through the last two, marketing approach for reaching small businesses to build their websites. So small businesses are always tricky because they're typically not heavy users, and it's very cold call oriented. And when I've done this in the past, I've just picked up a phone book and I've just started at A and I've called people. But my tips for cold calling, which I can share later, having read so many books on it, is when you call these people, we have a predisposition to pleasantries. Hey, how are you? My name's Ryan. If you really want to be pleasant with these folks when you're trying to sell them through that channel, you're doing them a favor when you're not wasting their time. And you don't waste their time by saying your pitch up front. Hey, my name's Ryan. I'm calling because I'm looking for the person at this business who's in charge of your web presence. I'm Ryan. I'm also from your town. I want to help you get a higher search ranking in Google, and I'm just hoping you can point me towards the correct person. So you're stating who you are, you're asking for help rather than a sale right away, and you're giving the person a soft out, but you're also just coming across as helpful. So that's my cold call help. And last one, online referral business for health, safety, workers' comp, and well-being in workplaces. Generate more traffic to the site for leads to our partners, and how to branch into online training modules. So let's pare this down into, you have a business that is helping people figure out something about workers' comp and health and safety and well-being in workplaces. It sounds like you want to have more workplaces look at you, and that's good for you and your partners, and you eventually want to get them into courses. So let's just talk about where to start here, just to cap off office hours. I see you're in Australia. I'm not an Australian, but I do imagine this can be similar to this small business approach of just cold calling until you find your initial traction. My gut feeling is that you're going to find success in um, blue collar work of maybe logistics or working in a warehouse or maybe even the city. And when I don't know what it's like down there, but my city employs people to put salt on the roads or plow roads. Those people have a vested interest in saving taxpayer dollars and might be more likely to invest in something like this. And they also have a vested interest in talking to you because you sign their paychecks when you pay your taxes. So that could be an easy way to start with a couple leads. And I know that was very surface level, but I just wanted to run through that so you could see how we start to think about distilling your core offering, where those people congregate, and then what the actual experiment we want to run is. It doesn't have to be perfect, but try something because it'll help you find out what you need to do. Jack, I'll stop talking now.
Awesome, man. That was great. No, I think that was fantastic. I did not expect us to fly through 6 or 7 of them. So well played, mate. That was great stuff to watch. So I think we have a couple of questions. If you got a couple extra minutes, and a few people are peeling off. We're over 6, but
Let's
couple I wanted to knock out. So Emmy, this was almost half an hour ago, and we were in the middle of talking about identifying pain and talking through how to position a product as a solution to pain. And Emmy asks, is it passé to make people feel the pain of their problem in the closing process? I prefer to stay positive. I have a perspective on this, but I would love to hear you as the sales professional.
So I agree with, I don't want people to feel the pain when they're with me because I don't want them to associate me with pain. I want them to associate me with positivity. And so when I know that your widget factory experiences so much downtime that you're burning through money, I don't want to keep digging into like, how does it make me feel? Boss okay, and is he happy? What I do want to do is approach it from, if you've read Story Brand, Building a Story Brand, I do love the book. This person needs to be the hero in their own story. And so it's perfectly acceptable to talk about the pain they might be experiencing, but do so in the context of how that person's going to fix it. So if that widget factory is burning through all that money, can't we talk to this person about, okay, well, what do you think your solutions are to this? Oh, you think that you want to do better quality control. Okay, we'll make sure that we can feed into that. Like, you got this, we got you. So it's not making them feeling pain, but addressing that there is pain and making them feel like they're the hero in this story, so to speak, in a really short snippet.
Awesome, man. That was superb. I think we'll wrap it up there, but Ryan is a regular participant in Slack, especially on Fridays, free sales advice Fridays. Make sure you hit him up for some customized sales advice, and also any holdover questions from this. Ryan's in and around Slack, so make sure to tag him and ask him away, and we'll get the notes up for this.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you having me in. You could have been anywhere in the world, and you were here with us. I'll be in Slack tomorrow. I'll be doing free sales advice Friday, answering any holdover questions. And then I turned a lot of the free sales advice Fridays into like a sales newsletter I'm doing on how bootstrappers can win sales. I take issue with a lot of the sales advice that's out there. If anybody's interested, I got a couple visualize value folks I'm working with now, and I would love to find more people to share their problems so that I can build a repeatable process to help bootstrappers win.
Badass, man. That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Ryan. Much appreciated. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. It's always a pleasure, and we'll see you somewhere on the internet sometime soon.
Have a great night, guys.
All right. Good night.